So write your name in present if you haven't done so yet. I'm just going to share my screen so you can see what I see. Wait a minute. Okay, should be able to see my screen now. Let's go into here. All right, so excuse me, write present in the chat. If Brittany Torres is here, hi Brittany, happy birthday. If you are here, we will sing to you. If you're not here, we will not sing to you. All right, so as I was saying a minute ago, we're only going to have a meeting today to go over the mock regents. We're not going to have a meeting on Wednesday or Friday. Next week, you will not have lessons on Monday because Monday is kind of like a changing over period to the second semester. So you don't actually have lessons on Monday, and I won't be posting any assignments on Monday. The assignment will be posted on Tuesday, and next week we will be starting with poetry. I don't know how you guys feel about that. Okay.
So basically, we're just gonna. Is this gonna be our only assignment for the week?
Yes.
Okay.
The ones I posted today, there's actually 3 of them, are the only assignments for this week. I posted them all on Monday because I know some of you work at different paces, and I did think about posting like one a day, but I thought that it'd be better if you all had them in one go so that you can do them, you know, at your own time, whatever's convenient for you. So they are due on Friday. And the argument essay is also part of the mock regents because the mock regents also has an argument essay component to it. Okay, so as I said, the essay was due on Friday. I know some of you have not handed it in. Try and hand it in to me as soon as possible. That is assignment number 3.10. And there's also that self-grading assignment, 3.11. Is actually a good thing to do because it can tell you some things you can do to edit your essay to get a higher grade. So you can either do that before you hand the essay in, or you can hand the essay in and do it afterwards. Okay, so we're going to go through the multiple choice section, which is 2 assignments, A and C. There is no B. That's because I was going to give you a B, which is going to be a poetry passage, but then I had pity on you, thought that was too much. So you're just going to get A, which is a piece of fiction, and C, which is a piece of nonfiction. And then the third assignment is what's called a text response. We'll go through that in a minute. Okay, so this is what the first assignment looks like. Passage A, fiction, right? Fiction just means something that's made up, not real. And it's reading comprehension, which means that there's a passage, and what you'll be expected to do is to read the passage and to answer questions about what's going on in the passage, right? So in the assignment, the first step is to read the passage. There's a link to it here, that little purple bit that says passage A. You can click on that. It will take you to the text. The text looks something like this, all right? It's a passage from a book called Brooklyn by actually an Irish writer called Com Toibin. And this is the passage. It's 2.5 pages long. Okay, but most of that is dialogue. So you read the passage, and then I think that for this one there's something like 9 questions about the passage. They're all multiple choice, okay? And the thing about the Regents questions, these multiple choice questions, is that normally you get a choice, well, you get a choice of 4, right? 2 of them you can kind of get rid of straight away because they're pretty obviously not those answers. But then you have 2 which it could be, and you kind of have to choose which one makes the most sense. All right. So let's look at the questions. All right. There's also two kinds of questions. So there's a question like number 5 here, which will give you a specific part from the text. For example, lines 17 through 20. Okay. So you read that section, and then it will ask you a question about that section. Right. For example, let's try and do this one together, maybe. Rose, this is from the text. Rose, this character, reached into her handbag and took out her purse. She placed a 1 shilling piece on the hall stand. That's in case you want to go to the pictures, she said to Alice. And what about me? Her mother asked. She'll tell you the story when she gets home, Rose replied. All right, so the question is, this is number 5, lines 17 through 20 show Rose's A, impatience with her mother, B, restlessness in her home, C, satisfaction with her work, or D, thoughtfulness towards her sister. Maybe we could write in the chat which one we think it is, A, B, C, or D, and then we can see what most people think it is. So read the passage again if you like. This would be A, this would be B, this would be C, this would be D. So I'm seeing A. A is impatience with her mother, right? Got 1 for D. A or D, yeah. A. Any more? So the answer is actually D. Now, when I first read this, I was wondering if it was A or D as well. She says, the mother asks, well, what about me? Why can't I go to the pictures? And she says, she'll tell you the story when she gets home. So, does that show impatience with her mother? Maybe impatience is not the word here, right? She's saying to the mother that the girl will actually tell her the story when she gets home. So maybe this is not an example of impatience, but I can see why that would be a possible answer. Restlessness in her home, right? She's not happy in her home. Well, there's no real evidence of that in this passage. Satisfaction with her work, doesn't actually talk about her work, right? So it wouldn't be that one. Thoughtfulness towards her sister. Now, this is the right answer. Why is this the right answer? Well, how do we get evidence that this is thoughtfulness towards her sister? Any ideas?
I guess you could say because she gave her money.
Yeah, she gave her money to go to the pictures, right? She placed a 1 shilling piece. 1 shilling is back in the old days, it was an old form of money, right? So she actually gave her sister money to go to the movies, right? So that's why it's the thoughtfulness towards her sister. But you can see in this example here, right? There's two normal answers that you can normally just get rid of, right? That are obviously not true. And then you'll get left with 2, in this case, A and D, and you have to try and think about what is the best answer, okay? In this example, it's more D, the thoughtfulness towards her sister. So that's one kind of question you get. And then you get a question that looks a little bit like this, okay? Where instead of a specific passage from the text, you actually get a question about the whole of the text, right? The overall text. So for that kind of question, what you have to do is read the whole thing, okay? I mean, you probably should do that anyway, but read the whole thing and then think about, well, what's the text trying to say as a whole, right? And this question is, which quotation best reflects a central idea in the passage, right? If you remember, central idea is something like what the writer's trying to say or the writer's message. Okay, so you have to read the whole of the text and then think about, well, what's this writer trying to say in this passage? What's the central idea? All right. And then once you have an idea about what the central idea might be, you can then try and think about, well, what would be good evidence or the best evidence to suggest that answer? We're not going to go through this one because we don't have time to read the whole text. Okay. But that's how you would approach a question like that. All right. So there are two multiple choice assignments. This is the first one on this piece of fiction. And then there is assignment for the passage C, which is a piece of nonfiction. Okay, any questions about the multiple choice quizzes, assignments? No? All right, let's move on to perhaps the more difficult thing, because we really haven't done anything like this, which is the text analysis response. Right, so this is actually the third part of the Regents. And let's have a look at the assignment, right? So we have the text here. Okay, if you click on this link, it will take you to the text. This is what the text looks like, right? It's called The Edge of the Sea. Right, you may want to think about what the edge of the sea means. And if we read the text right through here, it's a couple of pages long. It's by this woman called Rachel Carson. This text was written in 1955. Okay, so that's the text you're reading. And sorry, let me just go back. And this is what you have to do. Okay, so there's a form attached to here. It's blank. All right, that's where you're going to write your answer. And your answer has to be about 1 or 2 paragraphs long. Okay, and what you have to do for this section is outlined here. First of all, you have to identify a central idea in the text. What's the writer trying to say? All right. As long as you come up with a strong central idea, the examiner normally gives you a little leeway here, right? As long as you could support it in the text. Okay, there's normally not one right answer here. All right, it just has to be a strong central idea, something that the writer's trying to say. And then the second part is to analyze how is the writer developing this central idea? How is he showing or her showing the central idea in the text? Right. For this, you have to use a literary strategy or a literary element, something like characterization, conflict, metaphor, simile, language use, point of view, setting or tone. We've been over most of these before, right? Characterization is just where a character is being described. Okay. Conflict, it could be a conflict, a struggle between two people, or it could be between man and nature, or it could be between an internal conflict, so a struggle in your mind between two opposing ideas, right? Could be a metaphor, right? Comparison between two things that doesn't use like or as. Simile, which is a comparison that does use like or as. Where it says language use, that's really just talking about the kind of words that the writer is using, right? Point of view is things like first person point of view, I, third person point of view, he, she, or it, right? Setting, where or when the story takes place, and tone, which is like how the writer feels towards what he's writing about, all right? And then you just have to support this with evidence from the text. I'm going to show you an example of the kind of thing they're after. All right. Now, this is an example not for this text, for a different text. Okay. But I just wanted to show you how the answer is laid out. All right. So this is about a text called Barbie Doll by Marge Piercy. And in the first paragraph here, okay, the writer is doing a couple of things, giving a little bit of background, all right, also saying which literary technique is being used in the text, and then saying what the central idea of the text is. So this particular story, Barbie Doll, is, I think you guys all know what Barbie dolls are, right? These dolls that kids have. I don't know if people have them anymore, but So the story is about a Barbie doll, and it's really about what the effect of Barbie dolls is on how women see themselves in society. Okay, so first of all, this writer gives a little bit of background, right? The contemporary Barbie doll has been the cause of much debate in contemporary society. That's a little bit like how we start the argument essay, right? With that little bit of background. Many see the Barbie as perpetuating impossible standards for young women, right? Because I don't know if you've ever seen a Barbie doll, but they're normally like blonde hair, right? Strong, tall women, right? And most women are not like that. Um, in her poem Barbie Doll, Marge Piercy uses imagery to portray a young woman's struggle with self-image. Right. So here you're saying which literary technique is being used. Now this student uses the literary technique of imagery. Okay. You could use characterization, conflict, simile, metaphor, setting, tone, right? But this is where you would say it in this first paragraph here. And then the writer suggests that society's emphasis on beauty is detrimental to young women, right? That's the central idea of this passage, right? This passage is about beauty and about its effect on young women, about their image of themselves. Okay, so when you're writing your text response for this text, okay, the one about the edge of the sea, all right, your first paragraph is going to be just saying maybe a little bit of background. I mean, that's hard to do for the text if you don't know some of the background. Maybe it mentions it in the text. But you want to do two things, which is which literary technique is being used and what is the central idea of the passage. Right, that's what you're doing in that first paragraph. Okay, it doesn't have to be long. As you can see here, this first paragraph, only 4 lines long. Okay, if you do both of those things, you're gonna this passage is this assignment is graded out of 4. You've got a 2 already, right? The other 2 marks would be in how you support it with evidence. Okay, and really you want to use 2 pieces of evidence from the text, right? So if you're using the literary technique imagery, right, you've got to mention 2 examples of imagery in the text that supports the literary idea, the central idea. All right. So, for example, the first piece of evidence here, Piercy begins by describing the toys the girl child is typically given. Dolls that did pee-pee and miniature G stoves and irons and wee lipsticks the color of cherry candy. The imagery of these toys suggests the roles prescribed for girls from a very young age. Even in the 21st century, girls are expected to play house, acting as mothers who cook and clean and wear makeup. The girl in the poem attempts to meet these standards and seems successful until she is scrutinized by the eyes of society. Right? So you're not only saying a quote from the text, you've also got to explain that quote and how it relates to whatever your central idea is. Right? And then she does the same in the next part. In the second stanza, Piercy again uses imagery. So this is the second example of how that literary technique is being used. This time to describe the girl's failure to meet societal standards. A classmate taunts her by saying, "You have a great big nose and fat legs." The image created in this statement is not that of the perfect girl. Obviously, this is not what the girl aspires to look like, and her failure to meet society's standards results in her apparent suicide. In the story, the girl actually commits suicide. And then so on. This person gives another example. 2 is fine. All right. So this is how I want you to kind of set this section out. Okay. You want really 2 paragraphs. In the first paragraph, you're saying what the central idea of the passage is. In the second, and also saying what literary technique is being used. And then your second paragraph, you may want to do another paragraph as well, come up with an example from the text or 2 examples from the text to support this literary technique. Does that kind of make sense? Yes? What I'm going to do is put this in the chat so that when you're doing your example or when you're writing your text response, it will give you an idea about how to structure it. Okay, so that's what the assignments are. Okay, they are due on Friday. Okay, this text response, you're only writing 2 paragraphs, right? It's not a long piece that you're writing, just 2 paragraphs. You want to have the literary technique being used and the central idea and how it's shown in the text. 1 or 2 examples. Right? Now, I don't expect you to do amazing on these assignments, right? Because you have not done anything like this before. So I don't expect you to all get this amazingly right because, for one thing, you're not doing this until 11th grade, right? So you're not really expected to be able to pass the Regents in 9th grade. I suspect a lot of you probably could, but that's not the expectation, right? I just want you to try your best and do as well as you can. Anna, you have a question. What's your question? I see your hand up.
Oh, that was by accident.
Oh, okay. Does anyone have any questions? No? We're all good? All right. So when you come to do these assignments, if you do have any questions, send me a message in the chat, and I can try and help you as you're doing these assignments, all right? I just want you to try your best, okay? As I said, I'm not expecting you to do amazing on this. Even if you get a few wrong, you know, I'm going to grade somewhat sympathetically for these assignments. The grades will be in the next marking period, okay, in the first marking period of the 2nd semester. Okay.
Does this count towards your grade?
It does count towards your grade, yeah. But as I said, I'm going to mark them. I'm going to be generous, let's say. Okay, I just want you to do your best. Okay, so even if you think you did really badly on the multiple choice, or even if you think you don't know what to do on the text response, as long as you write something, you're going to get, you know, some grade, right? I just want you to try your best. Right? I don't want you to just do the multiple choice and just put down A, B, 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 just spend 1 minute on it and not even read the text, okay? Because then I'm not going to be so generous. Because one thing you should know is that when I grade these quizzes, I can see how long you spend on the quiz, right? And in previous quizzes, I've seen people who have done the quiz in like 20 seconds. Right? And those ones I don't normally bother even grading, right? Because you haven't read the text. Okay, any questions? Okay, so as I said, we're not going to have a meeting on Wednesday or Friday. The next meeting will probably be Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. Okay, so everybody have, you know, try your best on these. Any questions, send me a message in chat, and we will meet next week. And have fun in the snow tomorrow if you go outside. It's supposed to be really cold. And if no one has a question, we will leave it there. Okay, bye everybody.
Bye. Have a good day.
Bye. Have a nice
Okay.
rest of the week. Bye. Have a nice day.
Good week.
Bye. Have a good week.
You too. Bye.
Bye, Mr. Wick.
Stop recording.